I'm Bryce.
And I'm Kate.
And you're listening to
BK
Wrestling.
What?
Damn it. We love professional wrestling.
Hello. Welcome.
We don't have to welcome.
We can welcome them. We want them to feel welcome.
Yeah, but we have an intro for that.
Yeah, but we can also welcome them to the part where we're doing the talking and not just the intro.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Bryce wants you to feel unwelcome.
That's not true. That is not true. I want everyone to feel like they belong.
Let's talk about some wrestling.
You want to get right into it?
Yeah.
You want to talk about your week?
Yeah. Wait. No, I don't want to talk about my week. That's not what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say something that the answer would be no to again.
Well, we have an interesting thing to talk about because I want to talk about the first ever Hell in a Cell match.
Let's do it.
We are fresh. We've watched it twice in the past couple of days.
Mm-hmm. So I have watched it twice ever because I had never seen it until we decided to watch it and talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, so after watching it, I mean, what are your thoughts on the match itself?
I thought it was a pretty good match. I think if I had seen it first before I saw the second Hell in a Cell match, that I would be more impressed by it. But I did really enjoy it. I thought it was a really cool, I don't know. There's a lot of things in it that feel kind of antiquated because of the time. But I think there's also, some of those through lines that get you excited about wrestling even to today.
Yeah, so there are definitely some things in this match that we will never see again in wrestling.
Like chair shots to the head?
Chair shots to the head. We probably won't see somebody that's not in the match going around and checking underneath the ring, right?
Yeah, they don't really do that anymore.
Just to clarify, just to give you a little background here, this match took place at the In Your House Bad Blood pay-per-view in October of 1997.
How old were you in 1997?
I turned 7 in October.
Okay, so I turned 3 in November. So I was 2 when this aired.
Nice. Sergeant Slaughter was the commissioner at the time, so they called him Commissioner Slaughter, and he went around before the match started and took a flashlight and was checking under the ring to make sure nobody was hiding under there and stuff like that for this match. And we'll probably never see that again unless there's some weird stipulation, you know?
Why do you think we won't see that again?
I think because there's a lot of things under the ring that are just for store, that they store stuff under there. Mm-hmm. And underneath the ring is used as a way to get somebody there fast, right? Like at WrestleMania 40, the reason The Undertaker was able to get in the ring so fast is because he was underneath the ring the whole match. There was a couple people actually under the ring, right? Mm-hmm. For that WrestleMania. And there's just other things that are under there that the audience doesn't really need to see, you know? Also, why do people, during matches where there's no DQ and the weapons are stored under the ring, how did kendo sticks end up under the ring? How did this happen? Why are they there?
Yeah, I think also, just from a timing perspective, that took a lot of time, and in today's TV environment, taking up the amount of time to do that really doesn't have a lot of reward with the audience. Although I do want to ask a question.
Sure.
Do we have a commissioner right now?
We don't.
Okay.
We just...
Wow, so unprofessional.
I know. I normally turn my phone on silent during these, and I forgot to, so I'm going to do that now. It was just an alarm telling me it's bedtime.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to go to bed. We're 6 minutes into the podcast.
I know. Yeah, we just have the two general managers right now on Raw and SmackDown. But so a little bit more context about this Hell in a Cell
Wait,
match.
I'm so sorry. This is just for my actual brain. We can cut this from the podcast. But what even is a commissioner? Like, is it different from a general manager in any way?
So the general manager basically, because there have been times where like there have been a general manager and a commissioner at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, a commissioner is there to make sure the general manager isn't overstepping their boundaries,
Okay.
right? So like when Stone Cold, right,
Mm-hmm.
was the sheriff on Raw, he
Listen.
basically took the role of overseeing and make sure the GM wouldn't overstep their boundaries,
Gotcha.
right? It happened again. Mick Foley was a commissioner. Shawn Michaels was a commissioner at one point. So a little bit more context about this Hell in a Cell match. This was the first ever one. It was 16 foot tall. And just to give you an idea, Hell in a Cell matches today, the cell is 20 feet tall. And it was kind of a, thrown together thing. It's not it was basically fencing, right? It wasn't like reinforced like they are today.
I think that's funny because they did mention that it was like reinforced on the like I think JR mentioned it. And it was especially funny because like knowing what happens in the next Hell in a Cell, you're like, no, it wasn't. What do you mean it's reinforced?
Well, interestingly enough, that wasn't the next Hell in a Cell.
Oh yeah, we talked about this. Remind me what the other one was.
They had another Hell in a Cell match before the Undertaker Mankind one. They had another one that took place a couple of weeks prior on Monday Night Raw. But most of the match did not happen inside the cell.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they really count. It was also a tag team match.
Different.
So, okay, back to this Hell in a Cell. Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. The match itself was really good. I just got to say, Shawn Michaels knows how to sell. He is a master of overselling.
Oh my gosh, yes. There's one point where he like slingshots from this move from The Undertaker that should not have like slingshotted him across the ring in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me laugh. I had to rewind because I was like, wait, what move did he just do? He just like I don't even know what the move was, but the way that he slingshotted was just beautiful.
It was basically a stunner, right?
Like over the rope.
But on the top rope. Basically, like, he landed Shawn Michaels on his head on the top rope while Undertaker went to the outside of the ring, right? From the apron. So, a couple of cool things happened in this match. We did get Shawn Michaels get busted open.
That was fun. Yes, his whole face was bloody.
At one point, we get a cameraman get in the way of some moves.
Mm-hmm.
And Shawn Michaels is basically, beating him up. He tells the cameraman, like, get out of here, and you can hear him say it.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole match, Shawn Michaels is basically overselling the Undertaker's moves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's this one point where Shawn Michaels does his finisher, the Sweet Chin Music, on the Undertaker, and the Undertaker immediately sits up, does not sell it at all.
I kind of love that for him.
Yes.
Especially with the amount of like overselling that was going on.
Yeah. Now, another interesting thing to note here is Triple H, Chyna, and Rick Rude come down to the ring with Shawn Michaels, but at this point, they're not officially called D-Generation X yet, and it wasn't until the very next week that they coined the name D-Generation X.
We kind of talked about this a little bit because I was aware of the Hunter Hearst Helmsley character, but he's sort of in a weird in-between, and I was like, why is he coming out looking like the cover of a rom-com novel? Like, because he's got, like, the flowy white shirt with, like, it's, like, partially unbuttoned and it's, like, tucked into his pants. So it's definitely a transitional look.
Yeah. So at some point, you hear Vince McMahon on commentary say that Commissioner Slaughter has sent Triple H and China and Rick Rude to the back because they were trying to get into the cell. Let me take you back to when we mentioned the cameraman getting knocked down, right? This was all a work, okay? Because they needed an excuse to get the cell door open.
Mm-hmm.
So they played it as if the cameraman was genuinely hurt and they needed to get in there to get him out. So they opened the door to get him out, and when they open the door, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker go fighting on the outside. Shawn Michaels climbs up to the top of the cell. Undertaker follows him. They do some pretty cool bumps on top of the cell.
Yes, all this while Shawn Michaels is still bleeding. And I even noticed at one point the camera guy is inside of the cell pointing up at them. And Shawn Michaels' blood drips onto the lens, which is just like so attitude era badassery to
It's
me.
like it's like Quentin Tarantino was filming.
But less feet.
So Shawn Michaels does take a bump into the announce table off of the cell, but he's only halfway up the cell. So it's not like it's still a crazy bump, but it's not like the craziest bump, right? Mm-hmm. And then, we're finally back in the cell, and Undertaker's on the offensive, right? And then the lights go out. And then we hear Kane's music for the first time. And Vince McMahon saying, "That's gotta be Kane!
That's gotta be Kane!"
And so Kane makes his debut and tombstones The Undertaker. Shawn Michaels wins, and The Undertaker sells this tombstone very well.
It wasn't a very good tombstone, though.
Yeah, but it was his first ever one, so...
Yeah, but it's not like his first time ever doing it. It's his first time doing it in a ring.
Yeah. I've got some interesting facts for you, Kate.
Okay, tell me your facts.
Okay. Do you want to know why this Hell in a Cell match is, in my opinion, one of the most important Hell in a Cell matches to not just the history of Hell in a Cell, but to the history of WWE as a whole?
Tell me about it.
So, what started this off, a couple months prior, The Undertaker had a match against Bret Hart at SummerSlam with Shawn Michaels as the special guest referee.
Oh, just like what we just went over at SummerSlam when they were making... So that was the match that they were making the homage to.
Right. So at this most recent SummerSlam, CM Punk was wearing pink like Bret Hart. Drew McIntyre came to the ring in this trench coat looking thing that was very Undertaker-esque. And Seth Rollins had a referee get-up on that was quite similar to Shawn Michaels' referee get-up.
So does Drew McIntyre have a brother we don't know about?
I don't know. I will get to that, okay?
Really?
I will get to my thoughts and theories on where all of this is heading, okay?
Okay.
So, like I said, SummerSlam, Bret Hart versus Undertaker, Shawn Michaels special guest referee, okay? During that match, Shawn Michaels goes to hit Bret Hart with the chair, but accidentally hits The Undertaker. Now, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels have had this pretty storied rivalry, okay? And he accidentally hits Undertaker. Undertaker, after the match, after he loses to Bret, he ends up seeking revenge on Shawn. There's this cat and mouse chase, right, for the next couple of months, with it all culminating at In Your House, Bad Blood in Hell in a Cell. And Commissioner Slaughter, he says, not only will this rivalry end at Hell in a Cell, but the winner of this Hell in a Cell match will go on to face Bret Hart at Survivor Series for the WWE Championship. Okay, now, this Survivor Series is where the Montreal Screwjob happened.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. Now, not only did that happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you had Kane's debut, and it set off a feud between Kane and The Undertaker that would last for a very long time until they become Brothers of Destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why is this important to today? Well, not only is it pretty significant history, but here's a couple of things to think about. We have the CM Punk Drew McIntyre rivalry. That's been going on for quite some time. Well, they had their match at SummerSlam with Seth as the special guest referee. And it's been confirmed by several different sources. WWE hasn't come out and said this, but at Bash in Berlin, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre are set to have a strap match. Right?
Okay, yes.
And we saw CM Punk tease that, right, last Monday when he had Drew McIntyre's belt.
Yes.
Okay. In October of this year, we are going to have a Bad Blood pay-per-view. And I have heard through the rumor mill that it's supposed to be a Hell in a Cell match, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.
Okay.
Okay. It's interesting that the first ever Hell in a Cell match was at Bad Blood. And then now that they're bringing Bad Blood back, all right, this is only the fourth time that there's been a Bad Blood pay-per-view. They're bringing it back. There's rumors that there's going to be a Hell in a Cell match, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre. Now, I've got one more interesting thing.
Okay. You're already blowing my mind.
Remember how I said that Survivor Series that year was the Montreal Screwjob?
Mm-hmm.
Where's Montreal?
Canada?
Do you know where Survivor Series is going to be this year?
Where?
Vancouver. Also Canada.
It is on the complete opposite side. But,
Yeah, but it's still Canada. Okay. So what if at Bad Blood we do get some interference, and basically my thought is that at Bad Blood, it could possibly be Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk, with Seth Rollins coming in to interfere. Setting up a triple threat at Survivor Series. There being some type of screw job there. Okay. With Drew, quote unquote, leaving the company. And possibly, not really leaving the company, but like possibly going over to TNA to challenge their World Heavyweight Champion.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That way, it can continue the CM Punk Seth Rollins rivalry.
What if, instead of Seth Rollins interfering in the Hell in a Cell, the crowd goes quiet, and then all of a sudden you hear, say his name and he appears. Do you believe in Joe Hendry, babe?
Of course I believe in Joe Hendry. But I don't think
I don't
that
think
would happen.
So either.
But I do think there will be some type of screw job.
I do like your theory. I think it's unclear to me the who and the what, but I do think I could totally see them setting up for that. I think it's a very fascinating, interesting theory.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be just a rehash of what happened in the past, right? I think they're going to take elements from what happened and give us something new, right?
And I feel like it should definitely be Drew, though, because of how quote unquote screwed he's been over the past couple years.
And how fitting would it be that CM Punk be the one that screws him?
Yeah.
You never know. It's also interesting that CM Punk is going to be going down to NXT here in a couple weeks in September, and Shawn Michaels is over there.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I thought was really interesting about this match is you have Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and now as wrestlers, and now they're running the company basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you want to talk about Raw?
Yeah. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw. All right, so Monday Night Raw on August 12th, 2024. We start off with an opening promo from Rhea Ripley, and she's pissed the hell off.
And we love it.
Yes, she has TT on the side of her cheek, which stands for
Terror Twins.
yes.
And she also delivers this amazing line. Basically, Dom, you stabbed me in the back, and you've heard this before, but it just wasn't deep enough.
Yes. And so basically, we get Liv and Dominic come out, but they're in the crowd.
Yes. And I don't know how this is possible, but the crowd boos him even louder than ever before.
Yeah, it's great. But one of the funny things that Dominic said was that Liv gives him chicken nuggies anytime he wants.
Yeah. I also love that Rhea's snapback was, watching you become a man is one of my biggest accomplishments. Like, basically saying, like, he would not be a man if it wasn't for her.
Yeah, this promo back and forth between them is amazing. Liv basically says, I took your family, but the crowd starts chanting sloppy seconds.
Yes, these women are vicious and funny, but also, like, just totally badasses, totally cool. This was a really great back and forth that they have here.
Yeah, Rhea tells Liv that, you took my weak links and you're going to have to kill me to stop me. Damian Priest ends up appearing behind Dominic and Liv.
Yeah, where they're all, like, talking shit, and then Damien appears and it's like, you thought?
Yeah, so then they start to fight in the concession stands area.
So basically they're fighting in concessions, and then while Liv and Rhea stay fighting in concessions, Dom and Damien are fighting down the other side of the aisle, and they end up back in the ring together. Damien kicks Dominic's ass, obviously, and then Carlito comes and joins in, and we have the planned match of Damian Priest versus Carlito.
Yes. Before we get to that match, we had a couple of crowd signs that were pretty cool. A couple that I saw that I really like was Mommy Should Yeet.
Yeet.
And Dominic spell iCup. Basically, ICUP. What?
Yes, because we're 2005 elementary school children.
Yes.
I also saw All Rise for the Terror Twins, which I approve of. And then, of course, you get your classic Dom eats corn the long way.
Yes. All right, so let's get into this match. Damian Priest versus Carlito. Damian ends up winning the match.
He kind of squashes him like a little bug. But then JD McDonough, of course, comes and attacks, and then Dom and Finn join in. But then, of course, we get Rhea coming back to defend her terror twin, so to speak.
Yeah, something interesting is Damian Priest goes to kick Finn Balor, but JD McDonough pushes him out of the way and takes the kick.
Mm-hmm. The Terror Twins are hugging, and Dirty Dom tries to jump Damian Priest, but he catches him and throws him to Rhea to be absolutely destroyed, right? This is what everyone is waiting for. But unfortunately, Liv comes and saves him before she can riptide him to shreds.
Yeah. I love this storyline, and I love that there's gonna be a mixed tag match. They officially announced that.
Yes, I'm really excited.
I'm really pumped for that. And I hope that at Bad Blood, they have another match that has an interesting stipulation, because I think they might only do one Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood, but I'd like to see something with a cool stipulation, maybe like a no DQ or something.
Or Custody of Dominic ladder match.
Yeah. I think we're over that. I think Rhea's over that.
Oh, yeah. She finally realized she's better than him.
Yeah.
So then we cut to this promo with Alpha Academy and Ivy Nile. Basically, Alpha Academy are there bebopping around, and then Ivy Nile pulls Maxine aside and is like, hey, don't go out to the ring with them. It's not going to end well. And then she tries to recruit her to American Made, and Maxine's like, nah, this is my family. And then she's like, kind of like, all right, you chose your side, kind of thing. And then we're left to wonder if this will come up later, which of course we know it will.
Yeah. And then we get a Wyatt Six promo video.
Yes,
Yeah.
Wyatt Six.
And it's basically Bo Dallas. He's watching a TV screen that basically has video footage from the QR codes on it.
Mm-hmm.
There's been many deep dives into this specific promo. They're all over YouTube. You can go and watch them. But he does mention how everything is coming full circle and that he was there, referencing, Bray was there for that match that they had the week prior.
Yeah. I think one thing that a lot of people have brought up is the New Colossus poem. And then also there's a book by Stephen King that they seem to be quoting from a lot. Do you remember the name of the book?
The Stand.
The Stand. I think I'd be interested in reading that to kind of like get behind some of the lore that it seems like they're pulling behind. For example, there's a character in that book called Mother Abigail.
Yeah.
So.
There's also an interesting quote that Bo says in this promo. He repeats, "My life for you," a lot. Who is the you?
Yeah, so is it Bray or is it Howdy? Or is this internal struggle that Bo is having about trying to decide which one of them is you? Like you can't serve two masters. Who are you here to actually serve,
Mm-hmm.
So, something interesting. The other interesting thing that was in that promo was other doors shall open, which got me thinking, all right, who else are we recruiting or going after? Everybody's just been talking about Alexa. Of course, I want an Alexa return. I want her to return with this group, of course. But then there's also Braun Strowman, my love, who has said that he's worried because he feels a draw to this group and he doesn't want them to release the monster again. So, we got some interesting things there. But then there's also Randy. Randy was a part of the Wyatt family for a little bit. Could they be coming after him at some point?
I don't know about Randy because, yeah, he was a part of them for a little bit, but him and Bray had a pretty significant rivalry. And I don't know if he would join up.
Yeah, I think they would more so go after him.
Yeah.
Which I would love to see.
So, I don't think the Wyatt Six are done with American Made.
No.
But I'm ready to see an in-ring promo from Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt Six. I'm a little bummed that they weren't on Raw.
Yeah.
It was just a video.
I agree. I would rather them be there. However, I also get that you gotta, pace it out because you don't want people to get sick of it too soon either.
Yes.
So let's talk about this next match. Odyssey Jones versus Vincent Whiny. Why does this match exist?
Exactly. I could have gone without having this match. I think it's an interesting story that Odyssey Jones may be the reason why the New Day end up breaking up, with Xavier Woods, not really taking a liking to it.
Yeah, and they haven't really shown that, but we did get Karrion Kross coming to the ring and being like, oh, you're trying to replace him, and Kofi's like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
He also calls Final Testament Final Testicle, which is hilarious.
Yeah, and of course Paul Ellering is there And he does have the X on his forehead. And of course, he was honoring, Kevin Sullivan, who had, passed away just the week previous.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the match, because the match, like you said, do we really need this match? Like, why is there basically a jobber? He's an NXT up and comer, right? But it's basically a jobber for the purposes of what this match was. Why do we need that on today's roster?
Yeah, why would we do that when we have such a stacked roster? Like, there is no one else in the back that you could have thrown into this match and achieved the same thing. Because basically all we needed was to set up, Final Testament to come out to call out Kofi. There wasn't anyone else in the back that you could have gotten without introducing us to yet another someone new that we're never going to see again.
Right. Basically, the point of having a jobber is so that way you don't bury your talent, right? Because hopefully by the time this guy, Vincent Winey, is developed and on the main roster, people will forget about this match. But this match didn't need to be a squash match.
Also, like, he just destroyed Authors of Pain. Like, why do you need someone to prove that he's, like, a powerhouse?
Yeah.
I feel like he's already proved it by facing people that are already on your roster.
Basically, we don't need this match. I did notice something interesting, though.
What?
Whenever the Final Testament comes out, Karrion Kross calls Xavier Woods by his real name.
Do you think that was an accident, or do you think, like, he might be changing to his name?
Honestly, I think it was an accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, we go backstage with Adam Pearce and Drew McIntyre. And Adam Pearce basically says, well, Drew, CM Punk is not here tonight. He was having some flight issues. Drew is like, oh, I'm not here for CM Punk. I already beat him, blah, blah, blah. He wants to know why Randy gets to challenge for World Heavyweight Championship.
He basically tells him because of King of the Ring issue.
So he's basically like, well, I'm going to go, make my next match. And Adam's like, just don't do whatever, like, Bronson Reed did last week. Because if you remember, he basically, like, slaughtered Seth Rollins in the ring. But he's like, I'm not Bronson Reed. I'm a veteran. Trust me.
The next match, we have a Tornado Tag Team match. Alpha Academy versus American Made. Because they were in Orlando, they did show a couple of NXT superstars in the crowd. So Obafemi was there. And he has a little bit of a face-off with Otis.
Yes, but who is not there is Chad Gable. He is apparently in Paris?
Apparently. Doing some recruiting or whatever.
The crowd does not care. They chant, you suck. But then, of course, we get American Made coming in. I did not really like their entrance.
Yeah, I don't really care. Like, I don't really care for it, But I do think they're going to build this team up, Yeah. The match happens, and there's some pretty cool spots in the match. At one point, it looked like Otis was bleeding, but towards the end of the match, I think it was actually blood from one of the Creed brothers. It looked like his hand was just covered in blood. Kira Tozawa does this awesome double DDT on the Creed brothers, and I was blown away by it.
Yeah, where has this version of Tozawa been? Because I feel like I've been, like, really under-impressed. Like, I haven't had anything to really remember about him, but I was pretty impressed with him in this match.
Yeah, unfortunately, what we get is Akira Tozawa being grouped into this goofy wrestler category, right? But he is actually one of the better wrestlers in this match, right? And, I mean, he was in the Cruiserweight Classic back in the day. He held the Cruiserweight title for a little while. Of course, when they introduced that stupid 24/7 title, he was holding that too. He basically looked really good in this match.
Yeah, at one point he hits Hurricane Rana. And the crowd is chanting "Holy shit!" But then, of course, we get the event that we were foreshadowing earlier in the show. Ivy Nile comes out and she attacks Maxine. She says, "You chose this," and she officially joins the Creed brothers in American Made, and then they're able to win because of this distraction that she created. But the crowd is having none of it. They're chanting, "You suck."
Yeah. After this match, we get an interview with Pete Dunne. By the way, this Raw took place at that school down the road from us.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, we both went to Texas A&M.
Whoop!
And so we're like diehard Aggies, but they were at the University of Texas, or as Aggies call it, Texas University.
Little TU.
So we were a little off-put by the amount of Longhorns logos on chairs.
It was kind of disgusting. It made me sick to my stomach.
If I was there, I would have definitely flipped the chairs over.
Mm-hmm. Put horns down, man.
Horns down, you know.
Every day.
But anyway, there's an interview with Pete Dunne, and basically he says, I was never under Sheamus's wing. He was under mine. He doesn't like being called Butch, and says, don't ever use that name again. I'm the bruiserweight. I'm an 18-year veteran in my own right. What do you think?
I really liked this promo, actually, because he brings up a really good point. Because they don't really do a great job of bringing those outside wrestlers in who have a storied career, just not in the WWE, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are people who deserve a lot of respect in the business, but maybe just haven't been on WWE yet. And how do we, like, make WWE aware of these folks so that they're not starting out at the very beginning as soon as they come into the like a whole newbie when they come into the company?
Yeah, so I just a couple of thoughts with that. I think it's very hard bring up if somebody had a long historied career outside of WWE, unless they have a partnership with the promotions they were with, you know. It's very hard to be able to carry those. There's a reason the Bullet Club is not mentioned on WWE TV. But you have people like Cody Rhodes, Finn Balor, and AJ Styles that were all part of it and all have a storied history with it, you know? Mm-hmm. The only reason we can talk about AJ Styles' background before he got into wrestling is because WWE partners with TNA every now and then, mm-hmm. you know? So
in New Japan.
Well, not New Japan necessarily.
Oh, really? I feel like I hear them talking about Japan wrestling.
Well, yeah, there's other companies though. Like gotcha. Noah, All Japan, and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so I think it would be hard to translate that to somebody that only watches WWE. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a way to do it.
How would you do it?
Do what they do with AEW, right? Say other wrestling promotions.
I think they've gotten better about that since Vince left.
Yeah,
though.
Yeah.
They've at least talked about some other things, you know?
Yeah. All right. So after the Pete Dunne, we get Raw Physics. This is a new segment.
Yes. It was a delight.
It's basically going over Bronson Reed's
massacre of Seth Rollins.
Right, but the stats from that and physics of basically they added a bunch of numbers up and said it was basically the size of two small elephants hitting Seth Rollins.
It was 1,715 pounds of force 6 times, which basically equals 10,000 pounds of impact on Rollins.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on this Raw Physics segment?
I thought it was fun. It was a little goofy. They were like, it's the same force as like 11 kangaroos, and which is funny because Bronson Reed is Australian.
Yeah, I want them to compare it to like the smallest animal. Be like, that was the same amount of force as getting hit with 1 million frogs or something like that, you know?
Now that's a frog splash.
But, I mean, you don't have to have this kind of segment, but I do, as somebody that appreciates the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
I actually do like this. Because anytime, like, whenever they do, like, the numbers for the Royal Rumble and they go over, like, so-and-so superstars have fought in X amount of Royal Rumbles, I love those things.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm down for them to keep doing this.
Yes.
And I
agree.
assume they will. I hope they will.
Yeah, I think so too. But don't completely replace the Patastrator with this.
Yeah, definitely not.
And then we get Adam Page and Bronson
Adam
Reed.
Pierce.
Wow, I do that every time. Adam Pierce and Bronson Reed in a little promo backstage. Bronson Reed said, "I had to make my own opportunity. Find me an opponent, or I will find my next victim." What do you think of that?
Hey, he's starting to make a name for himself. I'm here for it. At first, I was not behind Bronson Reed at all. I was like, I don't care about this. Like, it was boring to me. But now, he's like, I'm going to tear through everybody.
Yes. I kind of like it. He's like the fiercest wallaby in the outback.
Okay.
I just like excuses to use my Australian accent.
All right. I'm not going to be doing an accent because everyone knows I'm terrible at them.
Oh, but it's part of the fun.
Next, we get a promo. It's Damage Control and Pure Fusion Collective? Who is this?
This is Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, and Sonya Deville. We finally have a name for them, so that because their names all together is such a mouthful. It is so hard to say. Pure Fusion Collective. It's kind of cool. Kind of also sounds like a protein powder company.
Yeah, I hate the name, first of all. I hate it. All right? But one thing I did like about this promo is Shayna Baszler saying, we should already be the tag team champions. Everyone saw me make Jade Cargill tap out.
Yeah, I'm glad that they're not letting this go and trying to cover it up as like a botch. Like they're using it to push the story further. One more thought about Pure Fusion Collective. I also am not big on this name, to be honest. I know I said like, it's cool, but the more I think about it, the more it kind of just sounds like an indie EDM artist. Like some guy in his basement making beats, you know?
Yeah, you know what it sounds like to me?
What?
Some sort of like sci-fi, futuristic, dystopian bad guy group in a movie like Mad Max or something.
And my response also to this promo is I guess Damage Control is our heels this week. They keep flipping back and forth. We did get confirmation based on how they're listed on WWE's website that they are supposed to be faces. So they didn't really do a good job of doing any kind of transition with that, but that's kind of where it sits. But
yeah,
stupid name and all, I'm rooting for Pure Fusion Collective.
Yes. We get the match Damage Control versus this Pure Fusion Collective. It's a tag team qualifier match, or a tag team championship qualifier match. Isla Dawn and Alba Fire do come out to ringside and sit close to the commentator table.
I did love the matching yellow and black situation that was going on.
Yeah. And
very Kill Bill.
Kairi Sane had a sparkly telescope.
Yes, that was
during
fun.
her entrance.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what that's called? A telescope?
Mm-hmm.
The single one that you look through?
Yeah, it's just a telescope that's not on a stand.
Oh. The thing that pirates use are...
Almighty.
Yeah. Yeah, this match was a good match. Io Sky does a combo missile drop kick that was really cool, and of course you got Sonya Deville on the outside causing distractions.
At one point in the match, though, Zoe Stark accidentally kicks Alba Fire as she's sitting ringside, which of course pisses these ladies off, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately leads to them interfering in the match and causing a DQ.
Yeah. So my best guess is there's going to be a triple threat for the women's tag team championships.
Mm-hmm. I think what's really interesting is looking at these three groups. Like, they're all very different types of women's wrestlers, you know? And so I think it'll be interesting to see how those different styles play out together.
Yeah. All right, next we get an awesome promo from The Miz and R-Truth.
Awesome.
R-Truth comes up to Miz and tells him he got him a match to kind of make up for what happened last week. And he says it's for the Intercontinental Championship match. And the Miz is like, you got me a match against Braun? And he was like, yeah. Braun Breaker. And he was like, yeah.
He's like, Braun Breaker, isn't he facing Sammy tonight? Because they have their 2 for 3 falls match tonight that they announced last time.
Yeah.
So then R-Truth points to a poster that has Bronson Reed on it and is like, yeah, isn't that Braun? So we have found the competitor for Bronson Reed for this evening.
But here's what makes it funny, right? Randy Orton comes in.
Uh-huh.
And he said, isn't that the guy that killed Seth Rollins last week?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was so funny. And then he's like, oh man, you're the Miz. You're so awesome. You totally got this. The Miz walks away, and Randy's like, he does not have this.
That was, whenever I say I like goofy wrestling, that's the kind of goofy I like.
Randy is one of the best at being able to switch between goofy wrestling and being super serious.
I think. You can have your opinions about Matt Riddle and everything, but I really loved RK Bro.
I did too. I think if Matt Riddle did more weed and less coke, he would be more likable. Because his gimmick is a stoner, but he's just he doesn't have the chill stoner vibes outside of his character, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. So Randy comes out to the ring, right, to do a promo. Crowd singing his song, chanting Randy. He mentions that, it's special because 20 years ago he became the youngest world champion. He's held the world championship 15 times. And then Gunther is it
Gunther?
Gunther?
Gunther.
Yeah, I'm just going to say Gunther. He interrupts and basically says Randy is wasted potential.
Which, how do you even say that about Randy? That line didn't make any sense to me. Maybe it's just because I've only known his career since 2017 and on, but I just felt like, who do you think you're talking to, Gunther? That was a misstep for me.
Yeah, so Randy responds and says, who are you talking to? I am unpredictable, violent, successful, and I've done it the American way. I've done pretty damn good for myself. And then the crowd chants, USA, USA, USA.
Yes, because of course we're in USA for this match. I don't, however, see that they'll be chanting that when they're in Berlin.
Right. Which, again, Gunther is from Austria, not Germany.
Yeah, they still haven't corrected that.
Right.
I wonder, okay, so totally unrelated to wrestling, but I don't know why it made me think of this, but the Kennedy that's ich bin ein Berliner?
I don't know that. The only quote I know from Kennedy is, ask not what you can do, your country.
Well, okay, so basically he's trying to say, we're all Berliners, because, Cold War stuff. But in German, it basically translates to jelly donut. So he basically told everybody, I am a jelly donut. So, fun fact. Learning some history today.
Yep. So anyway, Gunther calls Randy Orton predictable. Crowd chants what? Gunther says, when it matters, you always screw it up. Says, your grandpa was a screw up. Your dad was a screw up. And of course, this pisses Randy off. But then Drew McIntyre's music hits.
Real quick before we jump to Drew, is there any credibility to what Gunther says here? Like, I don't really know much about. I know that Randy, it comes from a wrestling family, like a lineage. But I don't really know much about his dad or his grandpa, like what their careers are about. Like, why would he say this?
Yeah, maybe we'll have to do a Vin segment on his lineage.
Yep. Maybe next week. I don't know. You'll have to join to watch.
Probably not next week, though, but probably in the future.
Okay.
So when Drew's music hits, of course, the crowd chanting for CM Punk, right?
Uh huh.
Great, great. Yeah, pretty dominant, I would say. I'm excited to see his future play out.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, we had talked about Adam Pearce saying that CM Punk had flight issues and he wasn't there. Well, Drew McIntyre's out here, right? And CM Punk comes out and attacks him. Drew ends up taking his belt off to hit CM Punk with it, but he misses him. CM Punk gets a hold of the belt and starts beating the absolute shit out of Drew McIntyre with that belt. And
yes, which kind of ties in to what we were talking about at the start of the show.
Yeah, because it kind of alludes to basically Drew McIntyre runs out of the ring, and then you see CM Punk looking at the belt as if this light bulb went off in his head, right? So I think at Bash in Berlin, I think it's been confirmed that there's gonna be a strap match.
All right, so next we have a promo with Sheamus here to respond to Pete Dunne's statements. Basically, he's saying like all he ever wanted to do was raise him up, and now Pete blames him. And now it's kind of ironic that he's saying all of this because he's using Sheamus's name to make a name for himself. There were some funny moments in this, like he said that he has Bigfoot's address.
Yeah, so just he said he's basically like saying all this stuff. You'd have an easier time finding this and that and this and that, but you can never find Pete Dunne, right? Because he always is like he's like evading him, right?
Or attacking from behind.
Yeah, and so he's like, I've even got Bigfoot's address, but one thing I don't have is Pete Dunne, right?
Yeah. I personally would like that address. Thank you. I would very much like to meet Bigfoot.
Yeah, a Sam Squanch.
Sam Squanch.
Yeah.
So, after he's done kind of talking to this, Ludwig shows up and he wants to fight. He's like, trying to get Sheamus to basically bait him to rematch from the previous week. And while Sheamus is distracted, Pete Dunne comes and, of course, attacks him. And, of course, attacks him from behind.
Yeah. Now we got a match. The Miz with R-Truth versus Big Bronson Reed. They show Mark Henry in the crowd there with his son. The match is actually pretty good, right? I actually liked this match. It really showcased Bronson Reed. Let's not discount the Miz here. He does this crazy flippy spinny to a DDT, and the Miz is just so talented.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think we may have already talked about this with him, but I just think he's incredibly, both under and overrated. Being overrated is kind of his gimmick. But I think people, still sleep on his wrestling ability. And he's really talented and great at, putting people over and playing the bad guy. And, any match with The Miz I know is going to be a good match.
Yeah, I would definitely love to see The Miz go one more round with John Cena for John Cena's retirement. But, Bronson Reed does some pretty cool stuff in this match. He ends up winning.
Yes, with his signature tsunami. And then, after he's already won, he tries to go for more tsunamis like he did with Seth. But R-Truth steps in and allows time for Miz to get away. Unfortunately, that means that R-Truth gets multi-namied, as I called it. He basically gets hit with multiple tsunamis. And then we get a great line from Pat McAfee. He says, "Call the Texas Rangers. He's gonna kill a national treasure."
I love Pat McAfee and his random nonsense.
Yes, he is the Theo Vaughn of wrestling commentary.
Yeah. So, earlier we talked about Raw Physics, and I'm wondering if they're going to do another Raw Physics on this moment.
Yeah.
We get Adam Pearce coming out and yelling at him, and Bronson Reed, gets down from the turnbuckle, and then he goes like he's leaving, but then he just gets on another turnbuckle and jumps off of it and tsunamis R-Truth again.
Yes, and he's like, "I do what I want."
So then we get a promo backstage. CM Punk, is back there, and I think it was Kathy Kelly was like, "I was on that flight with you." And he was like, "Well, I lied." He basically said, like, telling Drew, "Keep my wife's name out of your mouth," right? And that Drew McIntyre wants to just run from a fight that he picked. Basically the extent of that promo, interview, whatever you want to call it. We're backstage, and Sami Zayn's back there, and Jey Uso comes and hypes him up. I really think they're gonna end up teaming Sammy and Jay together for a tag team, and I just want Jay to do that singles run and win a singles title so bad.
Yeah, me too. I like them together. They have great chemistry. Like, of course I want to see that, but I'm just really hoping it leads to a singles run for him because he deserves it.
All right, Judgment Day.
Yes. So then after this, we get a Judgment Day promo, and it's all spooky, and we got all of the Judgment Day peoples, Finn, Carlito, Dom, Liv, JD McDonagh, and they're basically saying, like one of their tenets is that there are no leaders, no ego, but they tell Damien to watch out because Backstabber Balor is about. And yeah. I loved that little alliteration.
Little old spooky promo there.
Yeah. But this also leads to them announcing that we're going to get a mixed tag match with Rhea and Damien versus Dom and Liv. What are your thoughts on that match?
I'm excited. I'm so ready for this match. I can't wait. Rhea Ripley is going to probably hurt Dominic. It's going to be great.
Yes, I'm really excited. I also love when they do the mixed tag matches because, I don't know, it's fun when everybody's in on a storyline. It's not just the guys and the women being so separate. And because I feel like a lot of the time that I've been watching, they've been super separated from each other.
Yeah. I remember when they did the mixed tag team challenge, and they only aired it on Facebook.
Yeah. Let's talk about our main event for the evening.
2 out of 3 falls match for the Intercontinental Championship. Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker is backstage, and he's basically like, "I'm not the type of guy to do these promos while walking to the ring," But he says, "Are there dogs barking in Texas?" And the whole crowd, you could hear them, "Ho, ho, ho,"
You gotta be careful. You'll alert the dibbler.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
The camera angles were sick in this match. They've been doing this a lot more recently, and we've commented on it a couple times. But I just love the way that they're like following the action. It feels, more immersive.
Yeah, this match was great. We know it's gonna go to 3 falls. Sami Zayn gets the first fall with a haluva kick, and then we're on to the second of the 3, right?
Yeah, so after that haluva kick, Sami Zayn does do a moonsault off the barricade, which is pretty cool, but then Braun Breaker catches him and then slams him into the barricade over by where the announce table is, like kind of You know how they have that little, like, enclave?
The timekeeper's area.
The timekeeper's area. I
So
knew it had a name.
so he throws him. He basically darts him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over, and he lands. Sami Zayn ends up landing in one of the chairs. Like, he hits the chair pretty hard, and Michael Cole goes, "Sammy is dead."
Yes. Oh my gosh. It was like a JR moment. Like, oh my god, he's dead.
Yeah.
As God is my witness, he is broken in half.
Braun Breaker does his Frankensteiner. I think they're calling it the Breakensteiner now.
Yeah, I was confused because I wasn't sure if they were both the same.
They're the same move, but Pat McAfee calls it the Breakensteiner.
Gotcha.
Sami Zayn ends up kicking out, but then Braun Breaker spears him, and he gets the pin for the second fall.
Yes. And then Sami Zayn almost gets counted out after he gets slammed into the announce table after that second fall. But he, like, barely makes it. You know, they always kind of, like, run the clock out on that, but that one was pretty close. I almost thought they might have him just get counted out there for a second.
Yeah, I honestly thought he was going to get counted out. But he does get back in the ring. So they have this exchange. Sami Zayn ends up doing a sunset flip powerbomb. That was really awesome. And Braun Breaker does kick out. There's many near falls by both, right? Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker.
It's a really evenly matched fight.
Yeah. The crowd's chanting, "This is awesome." Braun Breaker delivers a mid-air spear and gets the third fall. Braun Breaker retains the Intercontinental title. And that's the main event. It was honestly a great match.
Absolutely. And it gave us more of Sammy and Braun, which is what we kind of wanted. It scratched the itch that we were missing from SummerSlam.
Yeah. But what do you think is next for Sammy?
You know, I don't really know. And I think they're kind of leaning towards putting him in that tag team with Jey Uso. I, of course, love their energy, but I don't know if I really want that. Like, first of all, I want Jey Uso to get his singles run. But if that were the case, I don't really know where that leaves Sammy.
Yeah. I think this is the problem with today's wrestling is there are so many talents that they have. And it's hard to keep rivalries going for so long. And it's hard to keep pushing people when you want to push the other talent as well. Mm-hmm. Right? But I would love to see Sami Zayn eventually meet up with Gunther for that world title and take it off of Gunther. Like he took the IC title off of him.
That would be good.
Yeah. Because
I think there's a lot of people that I want to see Gunther fight with that title before we take it off of him, though.
But I think the person to take it off of him should be Sammy, because Sammy's never held World Championship.
Yeah.
And he deserves it so much. All right, SmackDown.
Do you know what time it is, babe?
It's Tiffy time.
Tiffy time! So we open the show with Tiffy Time and Pretty Deadly in the ring. It is covered in pink balloons and unicorns, which of course I love. But Nia Jax does not. She comes out to the ring. She's on a throne being carried by these guys. I love it, first of all. But she is not impressed with the pink. She says, "I'm not really a pink girl." But she does have her, like, spiky crown thing. I was kind of hoping she was going to start popping balloons with it.
Yeah. At one point, she does, say everyone's going to bow to her. And she basically tells Tiffany to bow down to her. And Tiffy is like, "I will, but let's get a sneak peek of Pretty Deadly the musical first."
Yes, and so they do a little sneak peek of Pretty Deadly the musical. Now, I don't know if this is like a botch or this was done intentionally, but their timing with it is way off. Like, I don't know if they were just thrown because of the mic echo, because that is like something you have to deal with when you're in an arena, or if like that was the point, but it was not great.
Yeah. There was a sign that said "Pretty Deadly the Musical" or "We Riot." I hope we never get to see the full musical.
Well, listen, like, they haven't even done dress rehearsals yet, you know? It's still in production. They have time to kind of clean it up, okay?
Yeah, well, maybe. Well, Michin ends up coming out, and she brings a kendo stick with her. Absolutely starts wrecking shop.
Yes, and she looks amazing. I love her, like, huge hoops. She has, like, these cool ripped jeans. She has her chains. And I loved the outfit. I would wear it.
And then we get a backstage promo with Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi.
They're talking about the tag team championships and stuff, and then Carmelo Hayes comes in and is basically like trying to hit on them a little bit. Like, he shoots his shot, and I'm like, get it, Melo. But you know, they're like, aren't you the guy that like got your ass beat last week? And they walk away, and he's like, hey, they're watching my matches though. And I just wanted to say that I kind of like this angle. I like the idea of him like trying to pine after these women, and they're just like not having any of it. I would love to kind of see an angle where you know he's trying to do that, and then maybe Andrade like embarrasses him in front of them somehow, and he ends up turning face because, and you know, we're all rooting for him to get vengeance because, you know, he got his heart broke or whatever. Maybe somehow Charlotte gets involved because she's married to Andrade. I just think, you know, there's something there. I think there's something interesting there they can do.
Yeah, we'll see what they do with it. So then we get the match, Andrade versus Carmelo. And I just gotta say, as talented as Carmelo is, and as much as I want to get behind him, I'm just having a really hard time with it. Like, I don't care about his gimmick. You know, his moves are good, but I can see those same moves from just about anybody. But the one thing that really irks me about his style is I just don't think he's very good at selling.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, one time in the match, Andrade is climbing up to the top rope, and Carmelo goes to like hit his foot to get him to like lose his balance, but the way that he hits him didn't look like someone could lose their balance from it. You know, it's basically not, for me. It's not very believable.
Yeah, I definitely feel like Andrade was carrying this match. At one point, he does this Spanish fly, which is really cool. And I just think overall, you can definitely tell that Andrade is much more of a veteran than Carmelo and is kind of, you know, wrestling circles around him in this match.
Yeah, Carmelo does end up winning the match, and he's gloating afterwards, but Andrade is going to leave the ring, and Carmelo kind of like grabs him on the shoulder as if to say, hey, watch me finish gloating. And Andrade's not having any of it. He's like, nah, man. And he starts kicking the absolute shit out of Carmelo to where security has to come break them up. But the crowd, they're chanting, let them fight.
Yes, and you know what? I agree. Let them fight, man. Next, we get a promo with Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa. Tama Tonga comes in and hands Solo the Ulu Fala. The crowd is chanting OTC. And then Solo says, you know, if Roman wins this back, we both have to acknowledge him. And basically, you know, make sure that Tama Tonga realizes that, like, they have to acknowledge him. And the crowd is chanting, we want Roman. This is kind of confusing.
Yeah, I'm very confused by this because what's been the whole point of this storyline then? Because didn't Solo kick Paul Heyman out of the bloodline because Paul Heyman refused to hand over the Ulafala to Solo because it belonged to Roman Reigns?
Yeah, it was strange. And, you know, it almost makes me wonder, like, maybe someone had a conversation with him. Like, maybe The Rock called him up and kind of, like, straightened him out on this, you know?
Maybe, but to me, it's very confusing why Solo would say that if Roman wins the Ulafala, we have to acknowledge him as tribal chief when there's other people in the bloodline that didn't even acknowledge Roman as tribal chief. Like whenever Jey Uso left, right?
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. So it's very strange to me. Just like why?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some questions there. I guess we're gonna have to kind of figure it out, and only to muddy the waters even more. Like, Solo said Roman lied to him. What is that all about? You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of parts to this that I hope get explained.
Yes, because sometimes they don't. They want you to like forget these little things, but I'm wondering what is the bigger story here. You know?
Yeah. So next we get the Naomi versus Blair Davenport match, and Blair Davenport has this cool thing whenever she gets into the ring in her entrance. There's like it looks like a laser, right? Drawing something out, and I think it's like a shield or something that they draw out, but it looks really cool.
Yeah, Blair Davenport, I know this isn't going to mean anything to Bryce, but she definitely gives me like 2014 Tumblr girl vibes.
Yeah, I have no idea what that means.
Basically, she was like the kind of girl that was taking aesthetic photos and like wearing plaid skirts and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So earlier when we were on Raw, I said that Obafemi was at ringside because they were in Orlando. They weren't in Orlando for Raw. They were in Austin, but they were in Orlando for SmackDown. And Roxanne Perez was ringside.
Yes, and Orlando is also Naomi's hometown. So that was one of the things that they kind of mentioned in this match. This was a pretty good match. I just want to say Naomi is so fun to watch. She's so athletic and cool, and at one point she does this really cool like knee slide, and she's just so entertaining to watch. I am so glad that she's back on WWE.
Yeah, it was a great match. Blair Davenport does end up winning though, and next we get another video vignette of Giovanni Vinci,
Giovanni Vinci.
and I'm pretty sure this is the same exact one that they aired last week.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't speak Italian and I was too lazy to read the captions. So I'm just going to say it was the same one from last week.
Yeah, but it looks like he's coming back as like some rich Italian guy.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Next, we get a little backstage action with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. Grayson's like, dude, why'd you throw me under the bus? And Austin's like, nah, I like got you a match and stuff. And basically starts riling him up to the point where Grayson Waller starts talking shit about KO, Kevin Owens, and then of course Kevin Owens comes up behind him and basically does this like sarcastic like rant about how he's such an easy win. Let's go prove you right.
Yeah. I love Kevin Owens. And one thing that I really love about his character is the sarcasm, but more specifically the short fuse that he has.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I love how easily or how small, like something so small could set him off.
Do you
know?
feel like you relate to him in that way?
Definitely. I definitely relate to him in that way.
After this, we do get the Afa and Hawaii memorial. The crowd is chanting, "Thank you, Afa." And I think this is just really interesting, thinking about how we lost both Afa and Sika so close together. But it's also kind of cool that they were this super renowned brother tag team. And then they, their grandnephews have also like been able to carry on that legacy as a super renowned brother tag team.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and I just want to say that what Afa and Sika were able to do for wrestling, not just for that Samoan dynasty, but for other wrestlers, you know, we've gotten so many great wrestlers from them. They definitely have a legacy that will continue to be remembered. WWE did a wonderful job of memorializing him. And of course, my condolences go out to his family and loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
But next, we get Kevin Owens versus Grayson Waller. And All Ego Ethan Page is ringside for this. And Kevin Owens immediately opens a can of whoop ass on Grayson Waller.
What?
Crowds chanting KO, and it's just so awesome.
Yeah, at one point, Grayson Waller jumps into the crowd and is like trying to hype them up, and they're just having none of it. But we get this great angle. So Grayson Waller is sitting in a chair with his back to the ring, and KO just comes up and like pops up behind him slowly, and then pulls him back into the ring. Basically, overall, Kevin Owens is wrestling circles around Grayson Waller. Like, not just in a beating him to a pole play, but like, he's better at promos, he's better at the actual wrestling, he's better at selling Grayson's moves. Like, Grayson is just not. It's just really clear here that Grayson is just leagues below Kevin Owens from all angles.
Yeah. So Kevin Owens ends up winning the match. And of course, they take the fight to the outside after it. And there's something I've been noticing over the past month that I wanted to bring up. That I thought...
I'd say the past few months.
Yeah. I thought it's kind of funny, but next time you're watching Kevin Owens, right, go in like a wrestling match or any kind of physical altercation, pay attention to when he's outside of the ring, because every single time he knocks over the Prime bottle in the Prime hydration station every single time. And I don't know if it's because he genuinely doesn't like Prime and Logan Paul, or if it's just like a rib that he's playing, or if like he's like doing it to kind of be funny, But I'm here for it. Continue to knock it over.
Yes.
And if I'm the first one to notice that, I'd be surprised, but I just feel like it needs to be said.
Yeah. Eventually, Austin Theory does save Grayson Waller from the wrath of Kevin Owens. And then he grabs a steel chair and is about to hit Kevin Owens. But then Cody Rhodes comes out with his own chair. And they basically like beat the crap out of Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. And they, go running out of the ring.
So after they're running away, right? Kevin Owens has the belt, like the championship belt, and he's holding it. And there's kind of a little standoff there between him and Cody. Mm-hmm. And he eventually just hands him the belt back, but like kind of an interesting little standoff.
Yeah, it definitely, there's a lot of respect between these two. And so, I think Kevin Owens feels like he's in an uncomfortable position here. But I'm interested to see how it'll play out.
I'm very interested to see how it'll play out with them two being faces.
Next, we get a short promo from Solo. Basically, all he really says is that Roman will acknowledge him. To me, he's giving, like, Azula in the last season of the Avatar vibes, when she, like, her bangs are all messed up and she's, like, yelling in the mirror and stuff. So, I feel like we're starting to see some cracks in Solo, for sure.
Yeah, and then we see Titus O'Neil ringside. And just a little note that Titus O'Neil was also ringside. So, the NXT superstars and, legends and stuff were definitely there for it tonight.
Do you remember when he tripped and fell under the ring?
Yes.
That was pretty legendary.
And so then we get another promo, but it's like a vignette type thing with Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma.
Yeah, it basically is giving like Godfather vibes, but in Espanol.
Yeah, so basically he says Legado del Fantasma is not just a name, it's a legacy.
And he gives a line here that I thought was kind of intense. Basically, like, they've forgotten the taste of fear, which I felt was kind of like chilling. Ultimately, though, I'm interested to see where it goes, but it kind of felt a little corny to me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, so that Santos Escobar vignette leads into a promo with LA Knight.
Yeah! One of the first things that he says is that because you know they'll be fighting on SmackDown the next week. Um, one of the they'll be fighting on next week's SmackDown is the nation's capital will meet the nation's champ because he's the U.S. champ, right?
Yeah.
He calls one of Santos Escobar's companions. I don't really know their names to be honest. But he calls him a churro, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah. He says, I may be trash with a bit of flash, but I'll put you on your ass. And he kept calling him Esco.
Yeah, so obviously another great LA Knight promo. He is the king of like zingers, you know. He's so interesting to watch.
Yeah. So next we're backstage, and we see Chelsea Green and Piper Niven walking up to Nick Aldis's office.
Yes.
And then we get Michin coming out of his office.
Yes. So Chelsea Green is then like starts talking shit about Tiffy Time's celebration for Naya. She basically called it like a My Super Sweet 16 party, which was hilarious. And she's, you know, blabbering on like she does, and she's like, "Can I call you Mimi?" And Michin is like, no, what?" And then Chelsea Green, of course, proceeds to call her Mimi throughout the entire conversation. But then she basically says, you know, we were totally going to do what you did, Mimi, so thank you for doing that so we didn't have to. And then Michin's like, yeah, no problem, because I got a championship match out of it. Which, of course, sets Chelsea Green off, and they go storming into Nick Aldis's office.
Yeah. Can I just say, I love this character development with Chelsea Green.
Yes.
I just give me more of it all the time.
Yeah, she's so like witty, but also like ditzy and hilarious.
Yes.
I really love it. I also love that she calls Nick Aldis Nicholas.
Yes. So then Nia Jax attacks Michin, and it's a backstage fight. So now it's time for our main event match. It's a number one contender match for the Tag Team Championship. It's Street Profits versus DIY. Interesting, though, DIY did not do their promo backstage as they were walking out to their entrance.
I know, I was kind of disappointed. They could have, and they had just come from something backstage, so they could have, like, easily intertwined those two things into, like, a one-shot situation, I feel.
So, yeah, the match was actually a really good match. You know, Angelo Dawkins keeps on impressing me.
Yeah. At one point, Montez Ford does a 450.
Yes.
Which was really cool. I mean, all of these men are just super athletic. It's like, it's hard to even pinpoint singular moments that were good because everything was just really good.
Yes. And we get another super blockbuster from the Street Profits to DIY. The Street Profits win. Is the super blockbuster their finisher now?
I guess. I was actually really hoping for this outcome, so I'm really excited, even though, of course, I also really like DIY. I was kind of hoping that the Street Profits would get a chance at the Bloodline.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think this is gonna lead to a rivalry between Street Profits and DIY, which is what I wanted,
Yeah.
you know? But even though that was our main event, we still have one more thing. And that is the final promo of the night. And it's Solo Sikoa. And he basically goes out to the ring and says, acknowledge me, right? Basically calls Roman out again and says, if you want this Ulafala, bring your ass out here and take it from me. And Roman came straight out to the ring.
Gets a huge pop from the crowd. They're all chanting OTC, all of that good stuff.
Roman ends up, kicking hella ass. And he ends up grabbing the Ulafala and he puts it back on. And we think the show's about to be over. But then out of nowhere, Jacob Fatu comes and lays out Roman Reigns.
He's in a walking boot, mind you, but he comes and attacks Roman Reigns, basically.
And Roman Reigns does a really good job of selling for Jacob Fatu.
Yeah.
And he's making this look so believable. Like, Jacob Fatu is going to be some unstoppable monster. Like, there was a point where he basically did this move and, hit Roman in the corner. And when Roman fell, he made this face. It was like a face that someone would make, I've never been hit this hard before type face,
Yeah.
And so I thought it was really cool. So the Bloodline ends up slamming Roman Reigns into the announce table. Tama Tonga grabs the Ulafala and puts it on Solo. And it's just, this is the second week that Roman's been back. And he hasn't said a word since he's come back. He's only gone out there and kicked ass.
Yeah. It is kind of interesting, though, that all this happens because it finally feels like the numbers game has turned the other way around for Roman.
Yeah, so maybe we see Roman go in and make an amends if this happens again.
Yeah, I wonder, too, if Roman regrets leaning so much on the Bloodline because maybe he kind of blames them for him being too weak to fend off Cody Rhodes on his own.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see where this goes. I'm super invested in this Bloodline story. I'm a little confused by a couple of things, but yeah, we'll see where it goes.
The last thing I do want to mention is the timing of this is kind of wild. Obviously, this is not planned in any way, but having all of this follow Afa and Sika passing away, I think is really interesting because they're part of the group that gave Roman the responsibility of the tribal chief, and now they're passing, and this younger group is trying to take that title from him. It's just a kind of interesting full circle moment of uncertainty when it comes to the table.
Yeah.
The Bloodline, so to speak.
We'll see where it goes. I mean, all of the people that are part of that family that were able to go out there and still put on a show for us, amazing job. It's something they don't have to do, right? Mm-hmm. But amazing job, So that was SmackDown.
Yep. And that was wrestling this week.
That was Raw. And that was a little bit about the first Hell in a Cell match and my thoughts and theories on where it's all connected, So I hope you guys enjoyed this. And, I hope you come back for more.
Yeah, follow us on wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow all of our socials to stay up to date. And we hope to see you next week. Bye.
Bye.